So the way that I got into hair was basically almost on accident. It was never really my intention to make a career out of it. I dabbled in it a little bit with friends and with my sisters, but I've always been an artist. I grew up drawing, painting. When I was in high school, I was an art major, and I did photography and sculpting and all of that. So I knew I wanted to make a career out of the art that I was creating. So I went to Columbia College, and I thought that maybe I can channel all of this into graphic design. And I soon realized that I hated sitting in front of a computer just clicking the mouse for 8 hours. So then I went undeclared and decided to do art and design, and I ended up dabbling in fashion. After graduating from there, I figured if there's any remote interest in anything else in the arts, I may as well just get the schooling out of the way and just go for it now. So, and that also kind of aligned with a couple of friends who were thinking about opening up a business, and they wanted to open a salon slash boutique slash gallery space for local artists. So they're like, well, you're the artistic side of things, why don't you go back to school and figure out the hair aspects? And because art was, part of who I was, it was very natural for me to just pick up different mediums. I figured, oh, I'll have hair down in no time. So, I went through the whole cosmetology process and got my license, and realized throughout that time that it was way more complex than I originally imagined, and that I was barely scratching the surface. So at that point I decided, well, I don't want to jump into a business, especially where I'm in a leadership position, and think that I have it all down, because I really don't. So I need to get into a really great reputable salon and see, I need to learn. So I decided to come here because one of my partners in that business venture actually, after applying at Joseph Michaels, I went through the apprenticeship program where I got more advanced training, and it was definitely an eye-opener. I realized there's so many different, aspects to doing here that, I can get into. And I really found that my passion is styling. At the salon, we are able to do everything. We can do color, we can do chemicals, we can do styling. But I really feel like if I had to choose one, styling is definitely my niche. So when opportunities to do fashion shows or, take different editorial styling classes came up, anything that I could do on set really invigorates me. That's where I feel that my true strengths come out, and I feel most inspired. So as wonderful as covering up gray roots is, I'd much rather be doing something more creative with my hands. And so being here, I got some really great opportunities to work for Glamorama, which gave me a lot of experience in, working hands-on with models and photographers and videographers and all of that. I started doing some test shoots with local modeling agencies as well. That has also given me some really great experience. And just recently, having the opportunity to work with the Kerastase team in New York at New York Fashion Week was like a very unexpected event, but a huge dream come true. So I'm really excited about the possible partnership with Kerastase as a tech educator. It's where I feel my strengths are most definitely, and I hope that the following demo is going to be a great example of what I can do, and I hope I can articulate the steps and the products that I'm using and everything in a clear way, and hope that it's the launching pad for a really long relationship with Kerastase. So basically the look that I want to accomplish today is going to be a play on texture and reflective surfaces. So it's going to be basically a really clean middle part, low ponytail. So from the front it's going to appear very classic and clean. From the back we're going to do a pie parting here. We're going to do a Dutch braid, but that's all going to be extremely clean. It's going to be very centered, very shiny, glossy finish to it. And then we're going to take these panels from the front and put some texture in those and kind of loosely braid those over the surface. So it'll be rough and textured, overlaying the very shiny, glossy, clean braid in the center.
So from the front, it'll look very classic, very sophisticated, nothing too show-stopping. But from the back, you're going to get that element of interest, and that's where this becomes a little bit more of a couture look. So to begin this look, we just need to make sure that we really have a very clean middle part. I'm going to prep the hair in the front that's going to be a little bit more textured with spray potier. And I'm going to blow that out. We're not really concerned about applying any product in the back quite yet. So let me just begin doing that. I've already applied my product with a really light misting all the way through to the ends. And then I'm just going to prep out the hairline. Make sure that's nice and clean. And then I'm going to just kind of hand dry, rough dry the sides. Maybe scrunch it a little bit. I just want to build a little bit of grit and texture into those panels in the front. So now we have some really great texture in these side panels that's going to kind of be really beneficial once we start to pin this to the back. And we want it to look natural, nothing too forced. I'm not using a curling iron at all. So now when we're working with the back, we want to create a really clean section, maybe about 3 inches away from the hairline, because we don't want any evidence of this from the front. We want this to be the element that kind of surprises you in the back. So starting from that middle part, coming back. I'm only leaving a very thin veil in the perimeter. I'm going to come really nice and clean all the way back to the center. And we're going to do that on both sides. Now that I have my clean sections of what is going to be divided between front and back, I want to take this back portion and I'm just going to mist it really well with Gloss Appeal, because I want it to be nice and slick, smooth, and wet looking. And it should allow me to kind of glide my fingers through the hair a little bit easier when I'm braiding it. Try not to get this on your front panels. So now that I have her roots like thoroughly saturated, I'm going to start working this into the direction that I know I'm going to be braiding it. Because I want the sides to stay really nice and clean and over-directed to the center back. In the braid, I'm going to keep a rat tail comb handy just to make sure that everything is staying really nice and smooth as I'm progressing down with this braid. So I am going to just take a small portion to begin with and break that into 3 portions. And this is going to be a cornrow or Dutch braid or inside-out French braid, whatever you want to call it. So you're taking that small portion and just getting the braid going. And then I'm going to start to pick up portions and incorporate it into my braid. And I want those partings to be really nice and clean. And take your time with this because you want it to be really crisp. And always over-directing that hair to the center back from the root, because you don't want to have to wrestle it too much. So now I'm completing this braid. I want to make sure that I keep my fingers really close to the scalp, because you don't want any sag. So just keep it going all the way down to the nape. Obviously this is a mannequin, so she doesn't really bend. And take a moment too, if you feel like your ends are getting a little frazzled, and just comb them out before you continue. It'll keep your sections nice and clean, and it'll just look more polished. Just to finish off the back section, before we move to our front area, I really want to lacquer this down so it's really, really shiny. So I'm going to use the Lac Noir. And I'm just going to kind of protect the front and really just saturate it. Don't be afraid to use product. That's what it's for, especially in editorial styling or styling for runway. So while that is still wet, I want to just take, you could do this with a rat tail, you could do this with a hairpin, and just smooth any flyaways into the center. Try to get it as smooth as you can get it. Use really light pressure too. On areas on the braid, you could even use your finger to kind of coach those little flyaways into place and make sure it looks really smooth and lacquered down. So the back is all prepped out and done, and now we're going to incorporate these panels into our little ponytail. But I want some interlacing of a braid over the surface of this, so you're getting the glimpses of the shiny surface from underneath the more textured and dry surface. So I'm going to start a French braid. This one will be a regular French braid. It's not going to be a Dutch braid. So I'm just going to very loosely, I want this one to look a little bit more organic and kind of natural. So just go ahead and start that out. And just loosely grasp pieces from the front. It doesn't have to be so strategic and clean. Just want to kind of loosely grab a little bit. And we're going to pull this apart a little bit too. So kind of the messier the better. And as you go down, make sure that you're staying close to the head. Don't start pulling away, because then it's going to project this way, and when you try to lay it down, this is all going to pooch out. So stay close to the head. And I'm just, again, grabbing small random bits and just sticking really nice and close. It just needs a little finessing, so you want to make sure that it's balanced. Even though this is a messy braid, you still want it to be balanced with the sides. So you have to strategically pull it out and keep that messy quality, but just make sure that it's balanced. You could even rough this up a little bit with your fingertips. You could even knead it with your thumb and your pointer finger, just so it's a little bit more piecey and bits start to fall out. And you see how the contrast of something very neat, shiny, and inverted, and then it collapses and becomes textured. Now this, we want to kind of create a little bit of texture in here too. So you can take some VIP spray, and again, just kind of knead it, expand it. You could even lace it. You don't want this to look too teased. We're not trying to create a poof, but a little texture. Then any parts that get a little too tight, you can just stretch them back out. Effortless, that's the whole point. And from the front, very classic, simple. If you get any bits like this that get a little out of control, just finesse it, pull it out, coach it into place. And that's our final look. So that concludes my audition tape, Kerastase. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to even be doing this. Again, the experience at Fashion Week was amazing, and I can't wait to see everyone again if I'm given the opportunity to. It's been a blast so far, and I really hope that this continues to grow, and I can't wait to continue perfecting my skills and learning from really amazing artists like everyone at Kerastase is. And thank you so much. Take care.